presented. And believe me, there are a lot of folks out there that don't agree with the information that I've displayed. What's important is this is the information the policymakers are relying on in approaching legislation and regulation. So this bill, Assembly Bill 32, was passed in 2006. At the time it was passed, there wasn't really a lot of publicity, and a lot of us forgot about it. What it did was to create a machine, and the machine has been quietly working behind the scenes. And that machine has been developing regulations to mitigate the consequences of global warming. The machine is just now beginning to spit out what those regulations look like. And that's why I'm here tonight, because you're going to be hearing the consequences to homeowners associations. Now, this bill created the mandate for the California Air Resources Board to act as the lead agency that accumulates all the other information from all the other agencies in developing a comprehensive approach. The goals of AB 32 and the California Air Resources Board is that there will be a 30% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by the year 2020. I'm going to be around in 2020. There will also be a coordinated water management scheme or protocol over all of the watersheds in California in order to conserve water. It mandates that there will be a 33% target for all energy to become sustainable. All energy in California, 33% of that energy must be renewable. By 2050, which I probably won't see, these numbers jump up to 80%. So there will be an 80% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2050, and much more of our energy will be under a renewable protocol. Now, how does the California Air Resources Board intend to accomplish these goals? There will be massive regulation. It will be top-down. There will be caps, there will be fees, and there will be penalties. There will also be incentives. But make no mistake, AB 32 is for real. It was signed into law, and it is being implemented. The issue of whether it's a good idea has already been decided. The question of when California will move on these issues has already been answered. And the standard for compliance has already been set. What we now have is that machine creating a tidal wave of regulations, which is now being generated.
You're saying nothing can be done about this?
There's, at the back end of this, there's a lot of things that we can do. But I want to set the stage and let you know that what we're up to in working together is fighting the tidal wave that's about ready to hit.
It's not a water tidal wave, it's a financial tidal wave.
Yes, it is. So let's talk a little bit about more of the plan that California Air Resources Board has so we can understand what actions we can take. 4 months ago, the California Air Resources Board, remember the AB 32 was passed in 2006? 4 months ago, the board published its scoping plan. This is, for lack of better words, a recipe they will follow in implementing the mandates that I've just described. It provides for a framework of change, international leadership. You might ask, well, why is California so far out in front on this? Where's the federal government? The federal government is catching up, and they're about ready to jump on board with this too. But Arnold Schwarzenegger has left it clear. His legacy is AB 32, and he is taking the international stage and moving California at the forefront. As I mentioned, the recipe calls for a renewable energy reliance of 33%. There will be a cap and trade program here in California. I'll talk more about that in a few minutes. In addition, there will be transportation-related targets, adopting standards and policies to achieve them, and there will be adoption of laws mandating clean air, clean fuel, and there will be penalties for those of us that don't comply. There will be new fees, and we're talking substantial fees, on water use, greenhouse gas emissions, and fees to fund administrative costs to police this. Why are we doing this? These same policymakers have been told that the economic benefits outweigh the economic cost. This is what they're being told. Increased production under this new regime of $33 billion a year. Increased gross state product, $7 billion per year. Increased personal income, $16 billion per year. Increased per capita income, $200 a year. Savings of $400 to $500 per year per household. More than 100,000 jobs created each year. Savings on fuel for cars, $12 billion per year. Public health savings of $2.2 billion per year. And conservation of water, priceless. The costs of inaction. This is also reported in the scoping plan. This isn't my information. This is what the legislators are relying on in passing legislation. They're told that the cost of inaction each year will be tens of billions of dollars in new floods. I showed you those charts which showed you the projected damage and devastation caused by sea level rise. There will be tens of billions of dollars each year in forest and wildland fires. Water costs will exceed $700 million a year. Snow sports, $1.4 billion a year. A loss of 14,500 jobs per year. And public health issues in the tens of billions of dollars. Now, I could have filled 4 or 5 more slides with costs, but you get the point. How is this going to be implemented? Remember, the state at the California Air Resources Board will set standards. The local governments, the cities, will be accountable. So this is a top-down administration. At the state level, the Air Resources Board sets standards. The cities are expected to achieve those standards. The cities will mandate compliance by monitoring and enforcing against who? Common interest developments, community associations, businesses, and residents. This is a chart of California. Imagine, if you will, these various areas represent a region. And of course, these are the major cities. Each region will have a control board that will set the mandates for each major city to achieve targets. If those cities don't achieve those targets, they will receive penalties and they will be fined. They will not get a permit to continue to allow operations within the city limits of certain businesses. So cities are going to be highly motivated to make sure that they are in compliance with the mandates from the board level. And then, of course, within each of these cities, let me see if I can do some drawing for you. You're going to have hundreds of community associations throughout. So the cities, in order to obtain compliance at the board level, will be issuing mandates upon the homeowners associations for compliance. Again, I'm not making this stuff up. This is an actual page out of what they call the Local Government Operations Protocol. You're not going to be able to read it where you're seated, but what I want to show you is this is a manual that every city and local government has received in California from the California Air Resources Board and the Climate Action Registry and other operators who are implementing AB32. It starts on page 1. This is halfway through. And interesting here If you look at some of the titles, I'll read them to you because you can. Assessing